Hi, I'm Jess, and I want to bring you with me as I dive into Barnsley's history in theatres and entertainment. Now, obviously, most of our town's history revolves around the mines and the markets. However, quite an extensive part of it actually revolves around the entertainment industry, with some of our most significant buildings being quite heavily involved. Now, what I really want to know is what changed as the industry developed. Did we lose that sense of community when suddenly a theatre trip didn't take the whole day out? And have we made it too easy for everyone to access the things that really bring people together? Today, I'm going to answer all those questions. It was on this very street, approximately 226 years ago, that Barnsley welcomed its first paid-for entertainment. For just 21 days, William Collier and William Huggins brought their touring entertainment company through Barnsley to the old White Bear Yard, charging locals to watch their group of 12 performers on an evening. This company secured the initial performance licence for financial reward in the area, pretty much sparking the first interest in paying to watch live performers in Barnsley. Thankfully, the Civic were also very happy to speak with us, so we met with Jason, who showed us around and further taught us about how the building has inspired Barnsley's locals throughout its time.
This is the old art school, named so because once upon a time it was Barnsley School of Art, which is a precursor to what is the Art and Design Department at Barnsley College. But when I say precursor, I'm talking 1880s, a long time ago, and there's been a few different iterations of that throughout the years. When the building reopened in 1963 as the Barnsley Civic, or the Civic Theatre, the Civic Hall, it was referred to as a few different names. This space was the Centenary Rooms, and it was, I think of it like a working men's club concert room or concert hall. It's where local alternative music came. So in the 60s we had Barnsley Folk Club based here, a folk club that's still going. Blues clubs, beer festivals. There was a thing called Teens and Twenties, which was basically a disco, pop, dance, disco. And that's where people went to hang out and meet future partners. And when we interview people about their memories of the Civic in the 60s, a lot of them refer to the Teens and Twenties discos. This is the gallery. So at the moment we have two exhibitions in here. We have drawings by Georgia O'Keeffe, who's one of the most influential female artists of the 20th century. And she's an artist that's often taught in primary and secondary school curriculums, so it's really good to have this here. And then in the next room we have Ailish Traynor, who's a young female artist from Barnsley.
Oh, wow.
And this gallery is part of the redevelopment from 15 years ago, and it's part of the annex that was built to wrap around the side and the back of the building. And for us, the gallery has a slightly different audience to the theatre. Yeah. Because in the theatre we have shows that come here for just one night. The gallery, the exhibitions we have are here for like 2 or 3 months. And it also attracts people from Leeds, Manchester, Sheffield, where the shows that are in the theatre might also be going to Sheffield and Leeds, so we definitely have a different audience for the gallery. This is the Hanson Room, because it's next to Hanson Street.
Ah, makes sense.
And that brick wall and that archway is the original back of the building.
Right.
And that was the original backstage entrance, getting the equipment in. The current backstage entrance is just further down behind this wall. Coming out of the pandemic, we needed more community space, so we turned it into that. On Wednesdays, Cross the Sky Theatre Company use it, who are a theatre company for learning disabled adults. Right. They've been with us since 2015. So we are currently stood in this space here.
Oh, yeah.
Which originally, from the 60s through to I think the 80s, was the building's caretaker's flat. So that's when we were up at the bar, that's where the bar is.
Isn't it? Yeah.
And that is built onto the edge there. You
All the new
can't
windows.
really see it here, but there's a brick-built staircase, and that's where the accident happened with the children.
Oh, right.
And that was demolished soon after that. You know, when they started gutting the building, ready for this redevelopment. When that was built.
Because when I was looking up to do with the disaster, that brought into Barnsley, I can't remember what the act was called, to do with needing to establish like more safety in theatres.
Yeah, it wasn't just in Barnsley, it was
all over.
nationwide. Yeah. I mean, it made international news.
Wow.
And it was a key event in changing legislation for things like capacity and fire exits and things like that. You know, once upon a time, theatres were the only venue where touring bands, you know, even bands in like the top 10, that was the only place where they could go. So you used to get a lot of those big chart acts coming to small towns and playing theatres like this. But then, you know, going into the 90s, they'd go to university venues, they go to, you know, the beginnings of what became the O2 venues, like you've got in Sheffield and Leeds.
Yeah.
And then now, you know, some bands only play arenas.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing just doesn't happen in small theatres now.
Which is really unfortunate because, again, on like a community side of things, I think Barnsley really does need it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's... Obviously, we get the live music, we get the markets and everything, but I think theatre really was quite a big, important thing in bringing people together.
Yeah, there's the audience. There's the audience for it in Barnsley.
Now, surprisingly, the most interesting building I could find when researching Barnsley's vast history of arts is actually now still standing as one of our most famous nightclubs. It hosts drag acts, tribute acts, and dance battles and so much more, and it's kind of ironic that for a building that's been standing for so long, it still manages to bring people together, kind of just how theatre used to. The first version of this building, which was constructed in 1815, cost only £1,400 to build, and as well as hosting the very few productions that it actually did, it was also used as a meeting place for Rotherham's theological students, which earned it the name of the Synagogue of Satan from a local chapel. By 1878, the building became the Salvation Army Barracks for a little while, but in 1883 it reopened as the Theatre Royale. Unfortunately, quite shortly after, the theatre had to close because a bar fire broke out. £16,000 was then spent on completely rebuilding a new Theatre Royale, which seated about 1,200 people compared to the previous 800. The real downfall for the theatre came in around 1950 when TVs started to get a lot more popular in people's homes because it was drawing people away from going out to see entertainment when they could simply enjoy it in the comfort of their own home. Unfortunately, because of this, the theatre had to close its curtains for good in 1956, and then the night scene kind of took over in the 90s. We wanted a bit of a better understanding of what Parkway really means to Barnsley, so I got in touch with Rob, the cinema's owner, who very generously gave us an hour of his time to talk with us. So hi Rob, thanks for joining us, thanks for having us.
No problem. It's a pleasure.
Got a couple of questions. First one being, how do you feel business has been in the film industry for the past couple of years?
Terrible. There's only one word to say, it's terrible. So we were clobbered with COVID, obviously, early 2020, when all places of entertainment, well, everything shut down, didn't it? But, so we had a horrendous couple of years, 2020, 2021 were awful. Then we just got nicer back on our feet, and the writers and actors strike in Hollywood kicked in. So we've had a drought of films.
Yeah.
So it's been, business across the sector has been very poor.
Really, really bad.
It has picked up now, but it's been poor.
As well as screening films here, you also do live panto and performances like that,
yes,
don't
we
you?
do.
What, can you tell us a bit more about those?
My first job from school was working here, and then I went back to full-time education, so I was here for a few years and gone. But through the years, I've worked in cinemas and theatres, and I ran Penison Paramount for a good few years as well, and I sort of got the feel for it there, to be honest with you, and thought, right. So when we reopened this in 2007, I approached the licensing officer. I said to him, look, I want to reopen Barnsley, we want it to be a cinema, but I also want to be able to do live shows at some point. And he just said, just go for it. Everyone wants to see it open. So we did. So yeah, it's a big thing for me. I love to see the live bands, comedians. We've had plays, we've had dance, we've had all sorts of stuff on stage. It's not a theatre. It doesn't have dressing rooms. It doesn't have the facilities that a theatre would have.
Yeah.
But we get around it. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Because we don't have an army of technicians. We've got me
Yeah.
So if any lights need moving, the lights need fitting, adding, moving, I do it. So it's a lot of work, but you know the end result's great.
Brilliant. So do you feel, more specifically this building, and obviously both the live and the film side of it, do you feel it's really important to the community? Because obviously it's been here really, really long time.
Yeah, well, I mean, the first building on this site was 1862, which was a wooden theatre. And that was replaced in 1877 with another wooden theatre. And then that was forced to close because the guy that had what is now Globe Travel next door couldn't get insurance because it's a wooden theatre with gas lighting and people smoking. So his insurance company went, whoa! So he actually forced it to be closed and demolished.
Right.
So then the Empire Theatre opened in 1908. And essentially it's been, that was a theatre for first 12 years, but also showing, it was the early days of film. So by 1920 it went over to full-time film. So essentially there's been a full-time cinema here since 1920. So 104 years. The other thing is we are quite unique in that we screen mainstream films, which we're doing at the minute digitally. We can screen 35mm films, which we do. We can screen 70mm films. Now, there's probably a handful of cinemas left in the UK that are screening 70mm films. 3 of those are in London. Not only that, as you've just said, we do live stage shows, we do comedians. So put all that into a bundle and find me another venue that can do that in the UK.
It's very, very unique.
There isn't one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's massively important. We realise how important people think it is when we appealed to the community 3 months ago because we were, to be honest with you, we were on our knees. We were that close to closing and seriously we're going to close. And we appealed to the community and the support we've had has been amazing.
I'll just have one more question then. What do you think the future of both this building in a term of obviously the community like we've just mentioned and the film industry and creative industries in general? How's the future looking for those?
So everyone says every few years cinemas are dead. Everyone says it, but every time that happens, something else comes out and cinemas that don't die. Yes, we can all watch films on our phones, we can watch them on tablets, computers, we can watch them on TV at home. Absolutely, yeah, you can. What you can't get is the theatrical experience of enjoying a film with other people. You can only get that by going to a cinema. So I think there's definitely a future for cinema. I think some of these 20-screen out-of-town multiplexes are going to start to struggle. But I do think, I'd like to think cinemas like this one where we welcome people in, we talk to them, we don't treat them as walking wallets. We try and be as accommodating as we can. If people's got an issue, we'll try and sort it out straight away. But I think the fact that we can bring people in to see not just film, but essentially mainly film, and we're 99% film.
Yeah.
You know, people will come to see a film if it's one they want to come and watch. We're very reliant on content. The films do seem to start coming through now that are bringing people in. If we can maintain that, then all the cinemas, including this one, will be fine.
The building behind me, which we all know as the Lamp Room Theatre, is one of Barnsley's oldest buildings, classed as a Grade 2 building due to the council's efforts to preserve it. The building was first a Methodist chapel way back in 1794, which remained in service for a whole 153 years. It was then bought by the National Association of Boys Club and used frequently by Barnsley Junior Operatic Society. In 1998, it was purchased by Barnsley Theatre Trust, led by John Kelly, who still runs and owns the theatre today. We thought John would be the perfect person to hear about to try and uncover more about the building. However, he very unfortunately fell ill just before we planned to meet with him. The Lamp Room still continues to house a variety of production companies, drawing in locals to enjoy live performances of musicals, pantomimes, comedy acts and tributes. It's amazing to see that live acts such as these still stand out enough to join in crowds willing to pay to indulge in a show with others, witnessing each other's reactions and the real emotion given to an audience from performers using the stage to express themselves. Hearing about how the live arts and entertainment has impacted Barnsley's history, I wanted to find someone who has a more personal experience from the other side, being one of those performing in front of an audience. Luckily, one of our classmates, Charlotte, was up to be interviewed, being one of the most involved people we know in performing arts. With Charlotte also studying the same college course as us, it'll be nice to hear from someone younger on how they feel the future looks for the arts, especially with it being an important industry for their future. So Charlotte, thanks for meeting with us today. We just had a few questions about theatre and film and the creative industries.
Yeah.
So how has theatre and performing arts specifically impacted you as a person?
Well, I got put into a local theatre when I was 5. My parents put me in just because I was quite a socially anxious child, and they really wanted me to build my confidence, and it's just done exactly that. It's really helped me grow as a person into the confident young woman that I am today, and it's just helped me develop so much throughout my years and have something for me to kind of like fall back on as something to do.
So, in terms of community, do you think performing arts is important to Barnsley specifically?
Definitely. So again, my theatre was a local one, and then we'd use like different theatres and cinemas around Barnsley to kind of like produce and show our work. But obviously, like the community is also built within the group. I mean, you're working with loads of different people and children from the area, and you just really come together as people. It's a really lovely thing to do.
What is your opinion, and how do you feel about the decline in creative industries?
Honestly, it's really upsetting to me personally. I'm incredibly grateful and lucky that I had the opportunity to explore the theatre outside of school. But I know that it was quite an expensive thing to do, and not every family can manage that for their children. So obviously, like looking into theatre and education in like a public school system is something that like everyone should be able to have access to. But I also went to a secondary school where it didn't have a drama department, and I think that taking away the theatre really limits children's growth, as we've discussed. That it's developed me loads.
Yeah,
so.
and obviously it's that like being able to express yourself, I think, especially as a young child. And it's a shame that not everyone gets to see that. So what do you think is going to happen to the future of theatre, film?
At the minute, it's not looking too great. I mean, you've got the introduction of AI into everything, which I know has put many people, especially in the film industry, on strikes and worried about their jobs. And you've just got this, especially in a school system, this kind of like lack of devotion to like the creative arts. And they're putting like everything into kind of like your core and your logical subjects. And so looking towards the future, it's not looking positive at the minute, and it's quite upsetting to see, to be honest.
And as well, you're a film student as well, so
yeah.
even further an insight into that. So what do you hope to see in the industry in the future, moving on from college and theatre?
I hope to see, obviously, it improve and we just get better and better, new ideas flowing out, more communities coming together to really build on these projects, because they are such wonderful things. And I mean, I will always love going to the cinema, I will always love going to the theatre, and that's something that I always want to be able to do.
Yeah, exactly. Good point. Yeah. Thank you for answering those. You answered wonderfully. You've been a very good guest.
No, thank you so much for having me. It's been wonderful to be here.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Hearing so much from the people very involved in all the behind the scenes of the entertainment industry in Barnsley struck the thought that we should also get to hear from those paying to enjoy it, just to see exactly why they find it so important. Have you ever been to a theatre?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have. I've been to plenty of theatres, yes.
What has your favourite theatre experience been, just in general, and why?
Recently I went to see the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and it was really fun. We interacted with the audience and it was really well thought out.
Going to see Wicked in London, because it was a very different experience to like what you normally see, and it was very extravagant.
Probably when I went to Parkway, there was like a little pantomime going on for Halloween and stuff, and then they put Hocus Pocus on straight after as well.
Why is theatre important to you, just generally?
Well, I act in it. I want to act in it, and it's just kind of like it's a way for people to create pieces and bring it to people in person, and it's like more immersive than cinema, I think, in some aspects.
It's just like the people that you meet there, it's such like a really nice community, and like the amount of effort that they put into the shows, it's really good to see.
I mean, it's almost as important as like cinema or other things that help people together, you know?
It's about creating a story, really, and the messages behind them as well.
You're kind of secluded from everything else, and you just get to watch and enjoy a show.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. I think after all that, it's very clear just how important live arts is to Barnsley's locals, whether they work in it or simply just enjoy it. Allowing people to freely express themselves, connect with others watching the same thing at the same time, and giving people a comfortable place to just enjoy what they enjoy. Barnsley's entertainment scene is a really powerful place. With all that said, I believe I've successfully answered the questions I set out to answer in the first place. As much as the audience for live arts has declined, there's still a very prominent group that are thriving in amongst it and will definitely keep it alive for as long as they can. Once again, I'm Jess, and now you and I both know plenty more about the history of Barnsley's live arts.